history,
Yep.
up until I would say the early 1800s, like the 1810s and 20s, you get historicism as a practice. That is the way I do history. That is the typical American and British. The British have some Marxist history, but that's the typical American and German pre-Marx form of history. It's a very German form. It's very utilitarian. Let's look at what the evidence is and try and construct from it. No lenses, no trying to understand it the way they did. Just what happened.
Right. He's like, this is like some pre-postmodern.
This is pre any of the feminist history, Marxist history, looking at history through the lens of a specific people group. Yeah, and we only have those things because we had historicism first, which made history into an actual field of study. And these were just versions of that, building upon that.
Right.
But what you have in the early 1800s is history goes from being the hobby of the rich to being the discipline of sort of like the well-educated.
Right.
This is something that people started doing as professors.
Right.
It was no longer that it was just some guy who was a lord who was the best educated person in town who was curious about some things and read Homer and then read the Aeneid and constructed Roman history. You had people who were going, okay, well, wait a minute. How do we know anything in the Aeneid actually happened? How do we know anything in the Iliad actually happened?
Yeah.
And obviously, I know Aeneid is, I think, Virgil, not Homer. But
Aeneid's Virgil.
Yeah.
But Homer is Iliad.
Yeah, but so during the 1800s, this weird thing happens, especially in Victorian England, where people start to get super into history. A lot of them as hobbyists. It's been a hobby, but now that history is a legitimate field of study, well, I can get into this. I can make a living doing this. Yep. But they also didn't have very good methods. They had no methodology yet. And so you have all these people writing in the 1800s who are like, all of these things happened. We have the documents that say they happened. And they're taking travel logs from the Roman period that in one passage say they went to the moon, and in the other passage say that they, conquered China.
I know.
And they're like, well, these things clearly must have happened. And then you get to the 20th century and you have methodology, you have better communication, and even in the 21st century when things are really, getting moving. People in the 1800s were writing a whole bunch of nonsense, and you've got people who didn't study history in college, who just, kind of breezed through it, got to see it in high school, and that was it, looking at the stuff from the 1800s and going, well, why doesn't that match?
Right.
That's modern. That's recent.
Right.
Why did everything change after World War I? And it's like, because the field changed. Right. It got more serious. It got more intense. It got more funding.
Don't you think that it got more serious, but also got less serious?
There's definitely
equal amounts.
Yeah,
both
so
directions?
I would say that the established narrative got much smaller and also much more controlled.
Yeah.
So you're definitely missing certain things.
Yeah.
What you learned in high school is
Cliff Notes.
half true at best.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there that because the thing is, even if you're not lying, you're omitting.
Yeah.
And when you omit, you might be doing it with the best of intentions, and you still lead people down the wrong way.
It's like you finding about a whole other investigation for a missing person that changes the way you talk about the missing person, right? Because
when I was doing our video on Smiths Falls, Ontario, found another guy that very similar, not connected. Turns out that one was well explained, and it actually led to me finding explanations for one of the other guys. So this is no longer as mysterious because I was able to track that down.
Right.
But yeah, I know you have more super chats and things to get to. I'm so sorry.
We keep going. I'll read a few and then we'll do Discord. Sorry.
I will ramble until somebody stops. This is why I have a co-host.
I feel bad for the callers, but
it's my co-host's job to keep me like.
I wanted to keep up after we lost like 30 minutes of me just rambling in the beginning.
The technical issues did take away a bit of time.
All right, let me see here. Tales from the Inverted World with director's commentary is so much fun. Nephilim are actually redacted.
Yes.
That's from Ian Roth. What's up, Ian Roth? Turkey Baster. Back again. Okay, never mind. There it is. Fairy dissertation. Okay.
Yep.
Hey, it's Kellen, the official data.
Oh,
careful.
Hey,
Kellen's the best. Careful. Bring up Nephilim because as you may summon a wild Wendigoon.
Yes, that's true. Nephilim and giants.
Oh boy, they're outside right now.
Yeah,
that's why we actually have to keep talking because we can't go out.
Yeah.
Steve and Bobo, have you guys ever watched the cartoon series Gargoyles? Of course. They talk about the Oberon and the Third Race. I don't remember that part.
It must have been a long time ago. If I did.
You're much younger than me.
Yeah, I remember. I do remember it.
It was a great looking cartoon. The style was more like the '90s Batman cartoon style.
I must have been like when I remember watching, I must have been watching it on like Cartoon Network or Boomerang or something.
Worth watching.
Yeah.
Even now as an adult, I remember loving that show.
Sorry, I'm back.
Elena de Howler, Werewolf Queen, great name for the Lore Lodge. They sent us a super chat for the Lore Lodge.
Thank you.
Kellen is back for the milk.
Yes.
The glass of milk.
Yeah, you guys are. This could get weird. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It could get weird.
What do you got? What's up with milk?
Oh, there's just a lot of milk being mentioned at the lodge. They
Is
call
it
me
all
the
right?
Milk Master.
Do you drink raw milk or?
I do not drink raw milk. We have some really good local dairies near us.
Okay.
So I go with them for the most
Okay,
part.
cool.
Or I'll go to the local grocery store and find what I can that's as local as possible.
I've been drinking raw milk exclusively.
Yeah,
for
it's
like 3
it's
years.
tasty. It's creamy.
I love it. Goat and cow. It's very good. It's very good.
It's more expensive though.
It is.
So
It
if I
is.
can get like the local dairy stuff for a good price, I go
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
It's pasteurized, but I think I'm gonna be okay.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll have you back and see if anything's growing on your forehead.
I avoid hormones for sure.
Sorenko Productions. Shane better be careful. The families of MH370 don't sue him for $1.5 billion.
Oh God. Oh, dude, I got brought on to PKA like
What's
a year
that?
and a half ago. It's
I don't know.
Painkiller already.
Okay.
It's FPS Russia's podcast that he has with Woody and
don't
I
know
forget
about
what
it.
Woody's thing. He
Okay.
was a gamer, but they brought me on. I thought I was gonna be talking about Missing 411 and paranormal stuff, and they brought me on, totally dismissed all of that, and made me talk about politics. And then I remember the conversation. That was one of the things that came up was Alex Jones, and I was like, yeah, I agree that what he did with the Sandy Hook families was awful and all that, but it's very obvious this is going beyond punishing for that. And
Right.
now they're trying to destroy, like, make an example of the guy.
Right.
That was my opinion.
Right.
I was like, yes, what he did was awful,
Right.
but this is making an example
make
for the
me do
justice
an hour
system. Yeah.
debate with
so
Alex Jones on
I
you.
said that. I said, what else was there? I said that they brought up Russia and Ukraine, and I said that my assumption is that Putin's immediate goal was get in, knock the Ukrainian forces out before they could respond,
Right.
take the territory he wanted, and be done.
Right.
And if he couldn't do that, that he was going to try and wait it out and bleed the West until we are tired of
Right.
funding it.
Yeah.
And they told me that I was insane about both of those things, and I was wrong, and I didn't know what I was talking about. 2 years later, what do we have? Well, Alex Jones now has to give up InfoWars, and the families are coming at him for something else.
Right.
And I don't think it's the families doing it, because who wants to sit there in a courtroom for 15 years reliving the worst day of your life over and over
It's
and over
torture.
again, just so some guy who already lost his business can lose more of his business?
I personally don't think he did anything wrong. I think he's even allowed to ask the questions, even though he's apologized. I personally don't think he had to apologize. I think it's unfortunate to even think about it. I have children. It makes me sick thinking about all that stuff. But like I always say, it would be different if all the articles written about it when he talks about false flags, if they just give the context like, well, there is Operation Northwoods and things he was, in that context.
Yeah. I
Ghoulish to think about. But if you look at false flag history, I think it's okay. It's not nice as a parent to hear, and it makes me sick because it's horrifying to think of the whole situation. But as a parent, I can't imagine then going after someone for questioning things that he did apologize for.
Yeah.
Don't think he had to.
I guess for me, not to get too deeply into it, for me, it was my understanding was that it went beyond questioning. It was like he questioned, he was given answers, and then he kept pushing, even though.
As far as I know, he didn't really go that far, and he didn't say anyone's names either. Like they say that he doxed people, and like I don't think he did.
Yeah. I think when you spend as much time buried in as much ridiculous and often true stuff as Alex Jones has in the last 30 years, eventually you're going to start seeing ghosts in every corner.
You're going to get something wrong too.
Yeah, and you're just going to keep it's going to consume you, and that's why I try to take time off. I will take a week where I talk about a conspiracy theory instead of a missing persons case, because I need to for my health.
And that's smart. And then I've noticed with Alex and talking to him, he'll mention things like the obelisk on some moon. I forget which one, but he references the same conversation that he had with Buzz Aldrin.
Okay.
Buzz Aldrin was on InfoWars talking about it. Alex's interpretation of that conversation is that it was a man-made obelisk, but Buzz says it was just an obelisk-looking structure, right? So then that puts him down a path of like, well, what's going on there, you know? So you can see him in real time sometimes misinterpreting, but there's so many other things he's done that are right. And I've also seen him apologize, not just for Sandy Hook, or say I've got this wrong, or whatever, which is great. And everyone, if you feel like you've done something wrong, say that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But
I think he definitely owed them some pain and suffering money.
Yeah.
I think $1.5 billion.
Yeah, I don't agree with any of the money, and I think the 1.5 billion is totally ridiculous. Obviously ridiculous.
I see it as, in my personal opinion, I think, given that he has as much as he has, like, pay up, you cause some pain and suffering.
I think the precedent it sets, though, gets
that's what worried
murky.
me was the precedent here, I guess, would be if you go and do this and you can't prove it, and you cause pain and suffering, then, as we currently have things, you should probably pay. You should probably have to pay. But I think the issue comes in when they have taken this and they've now given a precedent where, without actually physically causing harm to anybody, you can be fined so much that it destroys your ability to even recover.
Dude, they want his social media accounts.
Yeah, it's
they want to silence him. That is so disturbing to me.
It's listen, get the money out of the way, but you can't take his social media account. I mean, say maybe that any money he makes from has to go to the families, but you can't take his social media.
Also, if you really want him to pay, which I don't, why would you then take away his business that makes the money?
And that's kind of what I was saying is
pay,
right? The goal was never to get the money. The goal was to force him to liquidate his assets, give all of it to them, and then never be able to do anything again.
Yeah. And again, I think perhaps there are a lot of things that happen that could be attributed to the government,
I do
in the news currently.
I do want to be fair though about one thing, which is that when you do see a fine like that assessed, it often doesn't get paid to anybody.
Oh, no.
I think the Petito family is owed $3 million by the Laundries for what happened with Gabby Petito, and they received nothing.
Right. It's a symbol.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a symbol of destruction and to keep you quiet and to make you afraid of saying anything that might sound outlandish. But when I have these conversations with people, I've lost friends over just defending Alex. Even before I knew him, I'm just like,
my dad and I got in a blow up fight over it.
Really?
Yeah.
Your dad was, do you care saying
he was on the other side.
Where I am,
no, he was like Alex Jones bad.
Okay.
Which I understand.
People associate him more than they think of Adam Lanza.
Yeah, and I can see. I also can understand though why my dad is, why he's so much more intense about it than I am. I was in school when it happened.
Right.
I was like, what year was it? 2011, something like that.
Yeah,
I would have been in, I think, middle school, early high school, something like that.
Yeah.
He had 3 kids who were in elementary, middle, and high school. So for him, I'm sure it must have been a much more visceral kind of fear.
Right.
For me, it's something that happened when I was a kid.
Meanwhile, I have 2 young kids, another on the way, and Uvalde happens while they're in school.
Yeah.
And I'm immediately being like, that story's not the official story's not the full story there. And then the video comes out of the cops waiting in the hallway. I'm not saying that there was something bigger, although there could be. But that video blew my mind.
So that one, here's the thing is, I don't get the false flag thing with the Adam Lanza stuff. I'm like, from everything I can see, people died. He took his mom's rifle and he shot some kids.
False flag doesn't mean people didn't die.
Oh, no, I know. Okay. But still, you know, even with it, the story of Adam Lanza is he took his mom's gun, went to elementary school and shot some people. I shouldn't diminish it that much. I just don't want to, YouTube can be really weird about censorship. So that's very believable. Was it Uvalde where the kids somehow got like a $50,000 pickup truck and 2 Daniel defense rifles?
Yeah, they had a lot, and I don't understand that either.
I am 26. Yep. I run a rather successful small business.
Right.
I don't have that kind of credit.
Exactly.
How did he do? And the way it's said is that he bought it all on credit cards. It's like, what credit card did he apply for at 18 that allowed him to spend $60,000? In
the defense of the false flag scenario with Adam Lanza, I would then connect it to something like Operation Northwoods, because it's like, if you want to go down that route, because they want to politicize and weaponize some narrative against politics, against certain people in politics, against Second Amendment in that instance. Whereas in Northwoods, General Lemnitzer, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, went to JFK and said, look, we're going to do false flags on people. We're going to murder our own citizens to start a war on Cuba, right? And we're going to blame it on Cuba. We're going to do it. So that's why people were thinking false flag. I do think there are people slaughtered. Obviously, Uvalde, I think those kids died. But people hear false flag and think you mean it's a total fake. I think there have been things that have been totally fake. The government has
there's a
done
number
things.
Gulf of Tonkin.
Right.
Like there are
point
things
to
that
all
just
those
didn't
things.
happen.
But they're also not above of sacrificing people. You know, I'm like I said earlier, I'm just getting done.
Oh,
with
Stephen Paddock.
I don't know that one.
Stephen Paddock's the Vegas shooter.
Vegas.
Like,
Dude, what on earth?
That one's a false. Like that is one that I will sit here until the cows come and be like, yeah, people died. That's real. That's a real thing that happened.
Yep.
But he did not do that with 30 assault rifles with bump stocks. And I was talking to my friends about it, and these are two friends who are Democrats, by the way. You know, I grew up around liberals. My area is very purple where I come from, so I have friends on both sides of the aisle. And we're sitting there and we're talking about, you know, we've all been growing up playing video games, and we like guns. We played airsoft together, all that. Even they're like, I don't get this. How? I'm going through everything for it, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't make sense that he somehow managed to get 30 it was like 24 to 30 rifles up there.
Yeah.
Nobody noticed. Nobody saw that was weird. There was also the security guard who said that he saw something that night and was supposed to go on Ellen and then just disappeared. And just from a functional standpoint, and this is why I almost think the ATF has to be involved, because I don't think there's anybody who understands how firearms work less than ATF agents. Like, except for maybe that one California congressman who held up the SBR and went, "This is a ghost gun.
Right.
It shoot 20 magazine clip per second," and you're like, huh?
It's a prerequisite to not know.
But I'm going through everything, and I'm like, and just think about the shooting, right? Like, think about the mechanics of shooting. At what point does it make more sense to take a rifle, fire 30 rounds out of it, throw it to the side, and pick up another rifle, rather than just
Right.
you're good. Like, if you're well trained, you can switch a magazine in a couple of seconds.
Whether they are created as this or not, they all become fear rituals that are maybe they're created in a lab as an idea to be a fear ritual, or they're co-opted by politicians and the media to become a fear ritual, to do whatever they want to in terms of narrative with Second Amendment or First Amendment, you name it, you know. Man, it's crazy.
I wonder if Stephen Paddock was like an informant or something like that, and they had something on him.
Dude, have you read the?
Sorry, yeah, continue. Well, let's go.
Have you read The Poisoner in Chief?
I have not, but I can.
If you read that book, you'll walk, and it's just like a sliver of MK Ultra operations and sub projects and the things that they did to people.
Oh, you know, like Charles Manson.
Well, yeah, Chaos. If you haven't read Chaos, that's one of my favorite books. But Chaos, definitely read if you haven't. And then Poisoner in Chief gives like a behind the curtains of MK Ultra. Nice. And like all the people running it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy how many people, like, you dig into it. It's like they were on LSD because somebody who worked for the government gave them as much LSD as they could use.
So many people that you know from music.
Yep.
People in poets.
Do you know that one of the Beach Boys was letting Manson stay at his place? Yeah, like
Dennis. Yep.
That was one thing I was like, oh, okay, cool. Why? Oh, yeah, Machete taught him how to play steel guitar in prison. Why not?
Yep.
Why? Of course. Like,
why was he breaking probation and just getting out all the time?
He was on probation for like 30 years.
His handlers were directly connected to MK Ultra researchers.
I can't remember what it was, but there was something where he had a suspended sentence, and then he committed a crime that should have sent him to prison for even more time, and they didn't send him back.
Right out. Yep. Dude, they don't care. I think some of these things they want to happen to create.
Yeah. I do wonder if there's, if take it out of the government side, and this is honestly something that I hadn't thought about till Criminal Minds brought it up. Been watching a lot of Criminal Minds lately.
Yeah,
great, just one of the best procedurals to ever be on. It's really good.
Cool.
It's surprisingly like nuanced about the FBI and the politics and the corruption and all of that. It does go into it. It doesn't go too heavy, but it definitely addresses it. So I like that. Even though it's about the feds and the feds are the good guys, I like it.
Yeah.
And after all, they're going after serial killers.
Yeah.
I can't
Let's
complain.
get those guys.
It's almost never political.
Right.
But with that, they have one of their seasons. The idea is that there's one serial killer who's running a network of other serial killers to do his killing for him.
Man.
And I sit there and I think about mass shootings, and I'm like, I do wonder if you've got people who are going into message boards who aren't even feds, like who are just. Maybe they're foreign agents, maybe they're Russian or Chinese, or maybe it's just somebody who's really sick.
This is why, as ghoulish as it is about questioning dead children,
knowing
this happens,
I can definitely understand the skepticism.
Unfortunate.